you?
What we do without this technology now? Can you imagine if this happened to us 10 years ago?
Whoa.
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
the first person to point that out, and it's the first time I'm actually trying to visualize it. No, I can't imagine. I genuinely can't.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
for joining us here on the Horology Forum 2019 throwback. You're gonna watch yourself. Wait, let me just share.
Oh no.
Yep, it's time. I'm going to play you your moments. You're gonna watch yourself, and then I have a question.
I don't think there's anything that's been said that's a huge surprise. The way I look at it is, there's a wait list, but there isn't a wait list. There's the sense that, there's going to be this chronological order, and as long as you've gotten in there soon enough that you're going to get a piece. And I think it very quickly after you get into this hobby, you're disabused of that notion, and you realize that it comes down to relationships. I don't think there's anything cynical about it per se, but there's definitely a thought that if, you don't know me from Adam, no pun intended, of course, why do I get special treatment beyond, okay, we'll put you down, but what I find interesting is, speaking to some ADs that I know, how people try to ingratiate themselves. Because I think the problem is everybody starts somewhere. And do I really need to spend 6 years cultivating a relationship? If I am a diehard collector, I'm not a gray marketer, I'm not out to just flip the piece. And I hate to say it, but yeah, you do have to put that time in. I know people who have, they've sent, wedding presents to the children of the ADs, that they do anything they can to just try and get in there and get in front so that your name is there, that they're thinking about you. But nothing is guaranteed. But you also have to recognize too that we're talking about watches. This is not air that we're breathing. We're very lucky to even be in the position of wanting to put our money down for something that technically we don't need. It still hurts though. Why am I here? I'm sitting next to him. I want to get on the list.
You're on the wish list.
There's an ulterior motive here.
All right. Okay. So, Adam, in light of those comments of yours, how does this translate online post-corona life?
It's funny. It's something I've been thinking about, and I have an example actually with me that maybe illustrates that things haven't necessarily changed. And on my wrist is the new Tudor Black Bay Navy Blue.
Yeah.
And obviously my little camera here is not going to really show it off to its full effect. But this is the watch that this past week couple weeks broke the internet, broke Instagram, in the sense that it's the one release from the crown that we're really going to get this year. Now it looks like maybe Rolex is going to give us something around Christmas time. We don't know that for sure. And look, all it is a blue dial variant of a very popular model, the Black Bay 58. And what's interesting, of course, is that what's wonderful, it was available for sale the day they announced it. And then instantly sold out, and now there's a waiting list. So again, we're back to that sort of waiting list system. And I think, especially now during this crisis, ADs have really been in a crunch. First, the stores were closed. A lot of them weren't set up for e-commerce. And then for the brands themselves, a lot of them were scrambling too to figure out how do we address this. And then what they did is they started setting up their own e-commerce, which in a sense sort of undercuts the ADs. Now, obviously you always have, preferred customers, I guess, for brands, but on a much smaller level. So the ADs were left with a smaller pool of potential clients. And it was even, I think, more important for them to really focus on these people, in the sense that if I come to you tomorrow for this watch, which has been out for, almost 2 weeks now, and it's sold out everywhere. It's already selling for a premium online. And obviously I'm late to the game here, but I'm one of your valued customers. You're going to take care of me now, especially because I've already demonstrated that I have the money to spend in an economy where people really do have to think twice about, what am I doing here? Am I really buying a $5,000, $10,000, $50,000 watch? Maybe my salary wasn't cut yet, but it might be. Maybe my job is safe today, but if this carries on, it might not be. So everybody, regardless of your financial situation, you have to think about that. And so the ADs have to think about that. So if I come and, as a nobody off the street potentially, and put my money down and say, well, I want this watch too. Now, I have the money. You need that sale. So maybe potentially yes. But what you have to think about is, am I really going to be building a relationship with you? And the person that you disappoint by giving this stranger the watch, whose money is just as green as anybody else's, is it worth it? Because then the next thing that comes along, this person who is your valued customer might remember, well, you didn't hook me up. And so I can go somewhere else. So I think that as unfair as I've always felt that this game is, as I said there, and I still believe everyone starts somewhere. But nowadays, you really have to be thoughtful about this. And look, I'm a perfect example in the sense that I'm not rich, I'm not poor, I'm in the middle, and I have to kind of worry about finances to an extent, not to the point where I'm worried about keeping the lights on, but discretionary purchases are things that, I have to care about more than I used to. It's not the sense of, all right, well, my wife's going to find out, she's going to yell at me, but, in a couple months, it'll be forgotten and, she can go get herself something nice and we're all good. And yeah, I still have to feed the hobby. I've been buying watches, just not expensive ones. But yeah, I think that it is still, that relationship-based model is still as viable as it was before for the ADs. It may still suck for the person trying to get that watch who doesn't have those relationships, but I think now more than ever you have to understand the position that the ADs are in, because they're getting hit on both sides now. They're getting hit by the virus and just the economy and people's economic fears, and then they're getting hit by the fact that the brands have to survive too, and a lot of them are now embracing e-commerce in a way that they didn't before.
Can you, for the noobs out there, explain what ADs?
Oh, sorry, authorized dealer. So whether it's the mom and pop store, that you got your wedding bands from, or whether or a Tourneau or Watches of Switzerland.
I knew, but
I know I'm just saying. No, you're right. To me, I just throw it out like everything I say instantly makes sense to people, and I forget that I work in a relatively niche industry. So yes, authorized dealer.
Thanks for that. So how did you manage to snag that Tudor?
Well, that's I snagged it by virtue of reviewing it. So I have to send it back. As a matter of fact, I'm supposed to send it back today. They gave me a box and shipping instructions, and I'm going to beg them for a little more time since I've been wearing it and I haven't actually been taking photos of it.
Or you're going to lose the internet connection, and then they can't get you.
Oh, God. Any other brand that might work, but something tells me that Tudor Rolex, they have people that will find you.
Yeah. So, they'll send like a Walking Dead team through the deserted city and get.
Oh yeah, they've got like a whole group of them. It's a whole division. So
leading to the
they're getting this one back. Some people have asked, oh, you got one. I go, no, come on, guys, it's from them. I didn't get. They go, oh, well, they're gonna let you keep it, right? I'm like, no, they don't do that. I don't care who you are, who you work for. They don't do that.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Point number 2.
You touched on that, and a lot of it is social media. It's a double-edged sword. I think like the internet as a whole, it's an equalizer. It's a great way to disseminate information, but it starts to bring in a whole new class of people. some of whom are going to become, dedicated collectors who have a real passion for it. But the flip side of that is that you have a group of people who want to buy into the hype. And so it's not that I want a Nautilus because I know the history of the watch and I'm a fan of Gerald Gent's designs. I want it because I'm being told that I want it. And then because I can't have it, all right, well, now I really need it. And then you start to get into the whole issue again with the wait lists. And it is supply and demand. It's to a point where we might be best friends and I want to give you this watch, but I don't have it.
Okay. Keeping in mind, you said equalizer, okay? Are you seeing this come into effect now? If so, with only certain watches? And finally, what advice do you have for authorized dealers, i.e. ADs?
Well, I think one thing that's great with technology is that, and again, it's a double-edged sword, to use that expression. While we're always very concerned about issues of privacy and the fact that anybody can go on the computer and see what you've said or done and what have you. Fortunately, I think I'm safe there. All I've said are stupid things, but nothing terribly offensive. It's also these breadcrumbs that we leave behind, I think, are valuable tools, and especially now for ADs in certain respects, if they want to vet someone and say, is this person going to be a potential long-term client? Are they in it for the right reasons? Do they have a history of showing pieces and then they turn up for sale? You can look on the sales forums, you can look at their posting history. So I think that technology is wonderful in that respect, and that's a tool that ADs can use. By the same token, again, if you already have a group of people that you're relying on, that's always going to come first. I think that, let's say you've addressed that and most of your long-term clients are happy, there's a hot watch there, then I think you can look at this pool of new guys and then just sort of see, well, who's the best out of that group? And is that really fair again? No, but this isn't about being fair at this point. So I think that that's kind of where that is. And the hype machine is as strong as it's ever been. Virus or not, that's not going to change. I think that this watch that I'm wearing is a part of that on a much smaller scale than, say, the poster child for this, which is the Patek Philippe Nautilus. But the hype was there. Tudor, I give them a lot of credit. I mean, it seems like everybody and their grandmother was sent a loaner piece, so that on July 1st, when this watch was launched, you were tripping over yourself. Images on Instagram, everybody had the watch, and it wasn't just showing press shots. People physically had the watch, and so all of a sudden there was this sense that it's out there, I can get it. Turns out it was for sale then, so everybody had to have this watch. And then there was a little bit of a backlash. Some people were saying, well, it's just a blue dial watch, there's nothing fancy, why are we getting so excited? And then all of a sudden it's coming out, well, how did you get one? Oh, well, in my case, it's not mine, I have to send it back. But okay, well, do you like it? I'm like, yeah, I love it, I'd buy one if I had money. And then people are now posting who already put deposits down, not knowing exactly what was coming, but knowing something was coming. And then, and then they're showing their watches. So now you really have to have this watch, because it's not only the journalists who've been writing about it, who maybe you look up to or have an opinion that's valuable to you, but now it's the other influencers, that other level of collectors, the people that you've been following. They're not dealers, they're not writers, but they've got great collections, they share them, they respond to your, they see they're good guys, but they've got one too. And so again, now you can't get it. And it's a $3,000-$4,000 watch. So I think it makes it more exciting because this is an accessible price point. The Nautilus lists at, a little under $30,000, which is already out of the range of most people. And then the markups, if you want to get one tomorrow, you're going to be spending double that. So this was something that people felt like they could have a chance, but it was the first time we're seeing during this lockdown or this post-COVID world that yes, it's still business as usual in that sense.
Okay, so there's essentially no advice that you wouldn't have given. There's no difference, you mean?
I think there is no difference. It's still,
Apart from
you
this
got to be.
really strategic thing I'm hearing, that's a strategic marketing ploy of sending everyone, all the journos and, you know, the
Was
watch,
smart.
the influential watch enthusiasts, the actual piece to, you know,
Well,
create.
and not everybody can do that. You know, that's again part of, I think, that machine that is Rolex Tutor.
Okay. All right. Now let's go to
There's more. What did I say? I don't even remember talking.
the final one. I promise you, the last point. Okay.
You know, part of RedBar initially though was to always speak to everything. You know, we're not snobs, so to speak. But it's tough. You know, it's supposed to be an exclusive world to begin with. These are expensive watches. They're, you know, made by hand meticulously, and so it's a little bit disingenuous to say that no, but I'm upset because it's too inclusive. Well, but that's sort of the point. I think that people mix up, like they take it too personally when they can't get what they want immediately, but it's not necessarily personal when the watches don't even exist. You know, and that's the joke with certain pieces is, you know, somebody thinks you're getting 50 of these a month, and in fact, you're lucky, most retailers are lucky to get one or two. So it's not exclusive because they want to turn people away intentionally. No, this is a business. To say business, you actually have to sell stuff. But it's definitely a part of that conversation always. I think what we do see is that some people, as a reaction to that, will start looking at other pieces, you know, a little more charitably. And maybe you're wearing this watch as sort of an anti-watch now. Well, I can't have that or that, and even if I could, I don't want it. But now I'm wearing this, you know. So maybe I'm wearing a Swatch, maybe I'm wearing a G-Shock to make that statement. But in your heart, you kind of know what you want.
So, do you see this elusive, exclusive collectors community being sustained and maintained long-term post-Corona life, and how? Assuming that Corona life continues permanently shifted to online, or do you see a backlash effect of weeded out even smaller, more intimate circles?
I think that it's going to stay relatively the same. Maybe that's not the interesting answer, but we're already seeing, you know, how things are shaking out, and the communities are remaining strong. The players are still the players. It's just now it's all exclusively online, and I think we also have to keep in mind that, you know, even when we were free to run around and do whatever we want and travel and just generally live carefree, which seems so long ago at this point, still most of the transactions, whether it was just a personal transaction, monetary transaction, were still done online. So I think that, you know, we're still, and if anything, you know, that again, I talk about that hype machine, it still exists, and it's probably more important for people, you know, in terms of being on their phones or being on their computers and trying to feel connected to something. And this is very much a community that you still want to be a part of. So I don't know that us being stuck at home has made that worse. And again, you know, in terms of the watches, it's still the same situation for the ADs. You know, I don't know what the lists are now for this tutor, but again, tutor's not sending you a zillion watches so that you can give one to every single person who wants one. And so therefore now they're still tied into that whole process of who's our favorite customer, who's the guy who's we're really going to take care of. So, you know, I want to have something really cool to say, that's sort of my observation based on all this stuff. But what I'm seeing is that, you know, we still, as humans, we still kind of just distill it to the same point, you know, that we were before, and we just kind of make it work. So whether it was with RedBar in terms of we can't meet in person, but now we're all just meeting online. In terms of watches, I can't go into the AD, but I can call them up and they can ship it to me, and some of them are doing, you know, you make an appointment. I mean, we're finding ways to make that work. So For what I was relatively niche when you think about it. For us, this is the world. But if you drag my wife into this conversation, oh God, you're talking about watches again? Well, yes, honey, that's what I do. Yeah, so it's funny. I haven't seen it change, and I think that if we continue on this path, and Lord knows, I hope we don't, but it's just going to be more of the same. And if anything, we're just going to get more used to this. So.
Okay. So I guess it's all well and good except for the hypochondriacs slash.
Yes. Look, the industry is taking a hit no matter what. And I'm a perfect example of that. There were watches that, I was looking at buying that really wouldn't have been a huge issue for me that I've had to pull back on. I don't know that, me alone is going to change anything in the industry, but if you have 1,000 me's, 100,000 me's, then yes, that is going to change stuff, because a lot of people are thinking about that. And I think that's the biggest challenge that the industry faces. It's not so much the isolation, it's not so much the change in business practices. It's really, I forgot who it was who said it, but it's the economy, stupid. And that's what it comes down to. This industry depends on people having disposable income to buy things they don't need. You still want that sort of tourist buyer, the person who maybe is just going to buy that one Rolex and maybe they'll get an Omega down the line, but they're not really collectors. But you get enough of those people, and that's what's keeping the industry floating. I can be a multimillionaire, but if I'm still not going to buy enough watches personally to keep you as a dealer afloat. You need more than that, and I think that's where the issue is going to be. We'll always be attracting more people thanks to technology, thanks to the ability to get these watches in front of people on their phones, on their computers. But the question is, are these the people that are going to buy them?
I mean, it's understandable, people can't just splurge because they have to be prudent with, their finances. But the act of meeting, as the founder of RedBar Group, and the whole point, I mean, a large part of it is ritualistic meeting together, gathering. You said that on Zoom, you can do that.
Well, it's not the same, and it can't be. In terms of our community, I think the issue that we have with RedBar is that it's, in a sense, we're hitting a wall here. That it's one thing, when you're meeting in person, we're continually adding new members and different chapters, and so you're growing. But here it's, well, do I want to join RedBar? And I can't meet up. They're not throwing events. They're not doing this or that. And I'm just going to sit as one square on a computer screen. So, and yes, I'll tell you that we are still getting membership requests, and that's wonderful, but it's not at the same volume. So I think for us to grow, and we've been growing exponentially recently, I think we have to accept that we're going to see that that's going to level off for a bit. I think people have to really get used to the fact that this is where we're at. And then I think they'll find that there is still value in doing what we're doing here. We're human beings and we're social creatures. I mean, everybody likes to sort of affect that. Well, I don't like people. I'm individual. I'm blah, blah, blah. But you still want, intrinsically, we still want to reach out and touch somebody. And if it has to be on the end of a computer screen, so be it.
Do you find that people who now are meeting with you online in your community, that personalities have kind of changed and some people are more open, from behind the safety of a screen on Zoom?
That's interesting. I haven't really noticed that. I like to say that I'm a student of humanity and I pay attention to these things, but I think initially I was just like, is that what I look like?
Or I guess what I should say, are you noticing your members, certain ones that are usually quiet, maybe, blossoming more? Do you have any?
No,
the online?
It's funny. I think the ones who hell stay in the background still stay in the background. If anything, it's just a microcosm of what we experience, out in the world. Everybody's adapting in their own way, but I think you still. You know what? I'm going to look for that now. Now you brought that up, I think I have to see, like, hey, wait a second, you, Mr. Full of opinions and always hogging the conversation. Where did you come from? You didn't used to be like that. I'm going to look for that now. And then if they get upset, I'm going to send them to you.
I swear, there are people who they enjoy an online persona, but then in real life, they're like, quiet as a church mouse.
Well, look, I know that you can't reach through the screen and punch me right now. So that's, for me, I feel much safer. But I am gonna look for that now.
As Taylor Swift said, say it in the street, that's a knockout, but you say it in a tweet, that's a cop out.
That's true. Yeah, will you say that to my face? You're right. Maybe, I wonder if apparently I'm not changing. I had our mutual friend Barbara Palumbo.
Queen Barb.
Team Barb, I had her join me for IG Live that I do for Revolution every week. And we were talking about the tutor. She has different opinions in terms of the success, whatever. She always has a different opinion. That's why I like her.
Yeah.
And then she noticed too that she's like, you keep cutting me off. You keep talking. And I go, yeah, she's right. And I that's what I did before. So I haven't changed.
Don't ever change, Adam. I think that's the point,
I don't think I could if I wanted to at this point.
Perfect. Oh, well, that was everything.
Oh, phew.
Yeah.
I'm going back to sleep.
You didn't step on any virtual landmines.
I'm probably about to say something horrible, so you better get rid of me quickly.
You haven't said any expletives yet.
I was really monitoring myself there. I've done a couple of podcasts where they've said that, this is actually, we went and counted, and it was the most beeps that we've ever had to put in a podcast. And I'm like, oh, I did that? And then I'm like, you did it again. And I'm like, oh, sorry. I'm a New Yorker, born and bred. It's a birthright.
Thanks for joining this.
Thank you very much for including me. I appreciate it.
Have a good weekend.